Hey guys, my name is Sanjay and welcome to the Engineer Wannabe YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Grand Seiko bracelet and a Rolex bracelet. So this is a Rolex Oyster bracelet and this is a Grand Seiko bracelet from my wristwatch check, which is the Grand Seiko SBGE 257. It's a slightly unusual Grand Seiko bracelet because it has this micro adjust, very traditional, very basic micro adjust system, which is only available in a few Grand Seiko models like the chronographs and stuff like that. But before we get started, I just want to quickly mention that you are infinitely valuable. You really are. I hope you know that, and I hope you know that a great price has been paid for you, and you're precious, you're worth it. If you want to know anything about that, there should be a link in the description why I'm saying that or what I'm talking about. Anyways, I want to thank my friend Marcus for lending this to me. It was kind of a surprise. All right, so talking about these straps, the dimensions here. So this is size to Marcus's wrist. Everything in terms of weight and stuff like that, when we do measure weight, should be okay. So 20 millimeters. And it tapers down to 16, so 4mm taper. I'm pretty sure the Grand Seiko only has a 2mm taper, so 20 down to, this is a plastic caliper, so it's not going to scratch metal. So 2mm taper. The additional taper does give this a bit more of a elegance, and I think the polished center links adds to that as well. But let's talk about the weight, because this is important. Let me line these up just to show you that they're pretty similar. Marcus's wrist is ever so slightly bigger than mine, and this I can pop out to make it the same as same length. Okay, so I've got my kitchen scale here. Not entirely sure if that's glass, so I'm just gonna put this on here because glass is glass and glass is hard. Rolex bracelet weighs 64 now. Okay, interesting. And the Grand Seiko bracelet is 66. Okay, so very similar, almost negligible when it comes to difference in weight. I know a lot of people say the Rolex bracelet feels more substantial. Not quite the case in okay, substantial, it's a loaded word, right? Let's say not quite the case in terms of just weight. The weight is very similar. However, there is a different feeling to it. There's a density here that is not quite here. And maybe that's what the substantialness is. And it's understandable because the links are tapering and it's coming close to the weight of this. So here the links aren't tapering, but here they are, so there is less volume. And so this does feel a bit denser than this. And different materials as well, 904L steel versus 316L. Main difference here, of course, is going to be the clasp. And the clasp is where Rolex runs away with it. You've got this flip lock and then a hook and beak system where there's a spring-loaded latch here, and it hooks onto this hook, and you can tell. So the swing arm here, this is huge, engraved swing arm, and on top of that, the swing arm folds in onto itself and forms something seamless and well, more elegant. There's no holes, there's no perforations. If you look at the maybe I would like to say that's a stamped portion, the shell of the clasp. If you look at the stamped portion of this Rolex bracelet, it is very substantial, as in it's quite thick. The stamped portion of the Grand Seiko clasp is a bit thinner, although I should provide the caveat that this is not a normal, like a Seiko gauge piece of steel. It is definitely a thicker piece of steel that's been stamped on here, but just so you know, it's not crazy low. Of course, Rolex has Easy Link, which is a bit of breathing room, which is very useful to have if you size this up for winter months, and then summer month you can release that that link. Grand Seiko only has just this micro adjustment points. Rolex also does have those micro adjustment points. You just have to do it in a bit more of a tactful way. You can't just push in a spring bar tool and move it up. You kind of have to use you kind of have to use a spring bar tool to compress the spring bar and move it in. A bit more of a pain, but the final product is very elegant. Now, in terms of comfort, I would still say Grand Seiko is superior. There is a difference in like the brushing feeling. If you run your hands over the bracelet, the Rolex has a nice feeling, a very nice drape as well, and there's the density. There's a superior drape here with the Grand Seiko. You can probably even see how it just flows off my fingers way more readily. And I think, honestly, I think the comfort is through the roof when it comes to Grand Seiko. Maybe it's the quality of the brushing. Let's take a look at it side by side. I don't think we'll be able to see much. Oh, maybe we can. There's like a shimmer on the Grand Seiko. There is a shimmer on the Rolex brushing as well, but we're really pulling hairs at this point. Just my perceived feeling of comfort is definitely higher on this. Now, if you were to talk about the Jubilee bracelet, I think the Jubilee bracelet, which we don't have here, this is the Oyster bracelet, but the Jubilee bracelet is so far superior in terms of comfort of anything that Grand Seiko really doesn't have anything to compete with. Actually, now they do have a 9-link bracelet, although that's more of a mesh than a Jubilee. Jubilee, all-time great. Here you have, we're taking a look at the gap here, which is a slight gap on the Grand Seiko. Rolex is not exempt from that gap. You do see a gap as well. So Grand Seiko tries to mask it ever so slightly with this overhang. Not sure if that really works, Grand Seiko, but they keep doing it. And I don't think it's for pulling up, because this is a double push button deployant. There is no sticking your fingernail here and yanking it, so I don't know why Grand Seiko keeps doing that. Here, of course, you have the beacon hook system on the Rolex, so you kind of need a little bit of something to put your nail under, right? Rolex doesn't really have any more bells and whistles or additional things to throw at us here other than the polished center links. Everything is very industrial. Grand Seiko, on the other hand, they have taken an extra step. You can see there is a bevel. If it focuses, there is a very nice bevel going down the edges of the bracelet. Is it present on the underside? It is not present on the underside. And of course you have the polished intermediate links. And that bevel continues on the clasp as well. It's a very cohesive thing going on here with the Grand Seiko bracelet, cohesive design. And this bracelet coming in from this watch, I think it integrates really well onto this watch, this particular watch. They use this similar bracelet on every watch, and I think it loses a lot of its magic. It loses a lot of its charm when it's on, say, the 44GS case. It doesn't quite integrate too well, in my opinion, onto a 44GS style case. This bracelet works really well on the modern sporty Grand Seikos, but that's my opinion. Let's look at the link shape. Rolex links are long, very long, and there isn't a whole lot of curvature to it on the underside. There's a little bit. Grand Seiko links are a bit shorter, and I think that is probably what aids in the incredible drape and silky feeling. The silky feeling, I think, still is attributed to the brushing or the quality of the brushing. But yes, the smaller links, I think that's probably it. Although, I mean, it's not bad. I'm not saying the Rolex is bad by any means, but there's a superior comfort and joy. Whenever I put a Rolex on, I'm like, everyone says the Grand Seiko bracelets are garbage. I'm not getting the real butterflies while wearing this Rolex bracelet. And so I've been really picking away inside my head to figure out why a lot of people love this bracelet, but think this is trash. Obviously, if clasp is important to you, I can totally see how you can come to that conclusion. But clasp is not a huge deal for me. Even micro adjust isn't a huge deal for me. I do wear my watches a little bit loose. Okay, so it's a new day. I've got a new watch here. Also borrowed from my friend Marcus. Thank you, Marcus, for this Rolex. It's the Rolex Submariner, Cermet, as we like to call it. So this one has the traditional oyster bracelet that comes on a Submariner, and there's a few differences. Obviously, there's no polished center links, and there is the glide lock clasp. So glide lock clasp is really pretty interesting because you have a huge amount of adjustability, and there's incremental adjustability. It's not all on and all off. There's multiple divots in there where you can set the bracelet length to. So you're able to probably get this sized at one time, at one point, and then never have to size it again. So the glide lock clasp is really legendary in my opinion, because it does it so seamlessly and so well in a pretty simple way. There's no crazy mechanisms going on. It's simple and effective, which is great for reliability. So only thing is you kind of have to take the watch off the wrist too, or at the very least undo the clasp and finagle it, but better if you take it off the wrist. The rest of the clasp is pretty similar, other than the fact that this is a bit longer, a significant amount longer overall. It's not too long though, even for my tiny 16 centimeter wrist, and the Grand Seiko really falls apart when you compare that to that. There's really nothing going on here. So yeah, so like in the previous section where I mentioned the comfort is really high on the Grand Seiko bracelets. The density maybe ever so slightly lower, but similar. But the links are what would you call it? They're shorter in length. So because they're shorter in length, they conform to the wrist a little bit better. And one interesting thing I really appreciate about this is the tapering of the bracelet, and the fact that it tapers down right to the end. So when the clasp is fully extended, there's still a continuity of design going on, but there's no weird solid part that causes like a visual disconnect from the rest of the bracelet. This looks natural. Some bracelets don't quite do that when they have their adjustable clasps fully extended. There's a disconnect. There is no such disconnect here. You can kind of see what I'm talking about, although you wouldn't be able to see this part very, very much, even when it's fully extended. But other bracelets have a similar problem where this part may be a bit longer. That last attaching link doesn't quite flow with the rest of the design language. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember, you are infinitely valuable. You're precious and you're worth it. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.